Today on the Yellow Windscreen Castage Says podcast, I am going to be discussing using a shoestring budget setup to record this show. Then I'll continue to tick off content creators by continuing my discussion about the danger of building your business on somebody else's platform, and then other stuff too, so go ahead and stick around. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw a lens flare in my vent. I don't know who is spying on me. I don't know why somebody is spying on me, but it needs to stop. This is just purely unacceptable. I spy on myself enough. I film YouTube videos all day. And I know I sound paranoid, but why is there a lens flare coming out of my vent? That's what I want to know. You tell me. You tell me what's worth spying on here. There's no news that I want to talk about, so we're going to jump right to what I've been testing. You have been listening to it and watching to it. I am not only testing audio gear today. That's right. I am testing video gear. That's why this YouTube video version of this podcast looks so gosh darn good. But we'll get to the video gear. First, the audio gear is nearly identical, if not identical, to last week. Behringer XM8500, $20. Behringer UM2, $30. Windscreen that is colorful and fun, $1 or $2. We'll discuss this in a second. And then a SoundSpeed Special XLR cable, which costs $80, I think. So the XLR cable is more expensive than every other component used for this podcast combined, including the camera. Before we talk about the camera, the windscreen. I bought a bag of colorful windscreens because they were affordable. Last week, I reached into the bag, grabbed a color, put it on the microphone. It was pink. I got a comment. I had somebody contact me and say, "Hey, are you trying to convey any kind of secret message with the color of your windscreen? Why are you using a pink windscreen? What are you trying to convey?" I wasn't conveying any secret messages. Wink! No secret messages at all. Wink! So I have a question for you. If I was trying to convey, for no reason in particular, if I was trying to convey the fact that the reptilian elite were rising up, they were about to initiate their global takeover, and the end was nigh, what color windscreen would I be using then? Not asking for any reason in particular, just a question, just posing a hypothetical. Let's go with that. So let's talk about the video that I am testing. I think it's undeniable that I am an audio guy. Nobody would argue that I am an oil man. And if I was ever featured on a channel with over 10 million subscribers, you would imagine that feature would pertain to audio equipment. Nay, it did not. I was featured on the Linus Tech Tips channel, which has, I think, over 10 million subscribers. And it was not a video of me covering any of the hundreds of microphones that I have tested. No. It was a clip of me covering the camera that I am using right now, the Logitech C270. This is a 720p webcam that came out in 2010, and it costs $20 to $30. It certainly looks a lot better than when I reviewed it. That's because I downloaded a third-party app that allows me to control all of the settings. So I was able to get it to look much better. But it's also 4:3 when you capture the maximum resolution. And as soon as I saw that, I realized, okay, we gotta go full-on 2010s. We gotta go 2010s and just do a throwback to that style of YouTube video. And that's what I'm doing. How are you doing that, Bandrew? You ask. First off, affordable gear. Secondly, my backdrop. I am not facing my typical direction where you see my entire studio. No, I am not. I am facing the blank black sound blanket that I use, the Automute. I forgot the brand name. And the reason this is 2010s, maybe 2007, 2008 YouTube, this is all you needed to do to look professional. If you wanted to look pro, you just needed to make sure you didn't have a messy background and then have a plain white background, a plain black background, a plain sheet that has been ironed, I wanted so badly to have that I filmed in my bathroom in front of my blank black shower curtain. And that's what we're doing today. Not a shower curtain, a sound blanket, but a blank black backdrop. 2009 called it wants its YouTube video back. It wants its aspect ratio back. I'm debating 720p or 480p. I don't know. We'll see what I feel like. Again, the entire purpose of this is to drive home the point. You do not need expensive equipment to make listenable and viewable content. As long as the content that you are conveying is good, you can get by with very affordable gear. This entire setup, if I was using an Amazon Basics cable, which costs $10, this entire setup would cost me under $100. And that's pretty affordable. Pretty affordable to produce a video podcast for $100. I would be more than happy watching this, listening to this, no problems. Of course, I do prefer to use something like my Canon 90D because I spent a lot of money on it. But this is more than watchable. This audio is more than listenable. And I am certainly not trying to convey any kind of secret hidden messages via the color of the windscreen. Wink! Okay, that is it for what I've been testing. Let's jump to what you had to say, and the first comment comes from Robert. He says, I am able to imagine going into my day job and being told that I will make less money if I swear within the first 8 seconds after clocking in. Now, I just have to renegotiate my employment agreement so that I'm able to swear after the first 8 seconds and still get paid 100%. Robert, thank you very much for the comment. I really do appreciate it, and I had to include it because this is relatable. I can't count the amount of times that I have logged on in the morning with my cup of coffee, I sit down, I check my email. The first email I read, I start swearing in my head, and I want to swear at everybody. Unless you work with me and you are watching this, then you're the best. You're my favorite coworker. I would never, ever want to swear at you. It's everybody else. You're perfect. If you want the most professional way to swear at somebody, because one of the most common reasons why I want to swear at somebody is, are you effing kidding me? I just told you this. The way you do that professionally without swearing is as per my prior email, as per my last email. As the rudest way to start an email. It's incredibly condescending, but it's a lot less condescending than telling somebody to F themselves, which I would never do because I don't feel that way about anybody that I have ever worked with. Everybody that I have ever worked with is a perfect angel. Especially Jill, who I worked with at the bank, absolute angel. She wasn't rude to anybody, especially the coworker we had. I can't remember his name right now. Timmy, Tommy, Eddie, I can't remember his name. Jill truly was really nice to me. I really enjoyed working with you. You were absolutely spectacular. And when you were rude to Jimmy or Timmy or whatever his name was, Tommy, it was hilarious to me. She hated his guts so much. So I agree with you, Robert. It would be an absolute joy to renegotiate an employment agreement so that you can swear at people when they deserve it. But in the meantime, just say, as per my last email, and you can get away with swearing subconsciously in your head. Or just mumble to yourself. I do that all day long. People probably run past my door. Oh, there's the crazy guy just mumbling the F word under his breath all day long. Effing, 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 effing. He's a lunatic. Run past his door. Next comment comes from Rex. They say, I think a big reason people keep being angry at YouTube is their horrible support system and how bad they are at letting you know what you did wrong when something has happened. You can get help to fix something they did wrong seemingly only if you make a big enough fuzz about it on social media. Rex, that is a very fair criticism of YouTube that you will see no pushback from me on because YouTube's support system is absolute rubbish. It is garbage. As somebody who was banned from YouTube for a little bit for no reason whatsoever, I can attest to this. It is a terrible system. We banned you for commercially deceptive practices. Well, what was the content that violated that? We don't know. I'm going to appeal that. Denied. Okay, I'm going to go to Twitter and complain about it there. Okay, yeah, that's resolved now. The only reason it got resolved, the only reason I did not remain locked out of my account was because I had a decent following on Twitter and I was able to get enough people to like it and retweet it. Had that not been the case, I would not have been able to re-access the Podcastage account. It would have been lost to the ether forever, and I would have had to start over or just give up. So I agree completely. If that's the criticism that people are levying against YouTube, you will not see me saying, oh, they're wrong there, because that is 100% accurate. Even if I had not been banned. The fact that you have to go to Twitter to get resolution on an issue on YouTube is crazy. It's likely because YouTube doesn't want to have to pay to develop their own system for internal resolution. Why would they do that when they can just use Twitter's existing infrastructure to handle all that? Saves a boatload of money. So I agree with you. If that is the criticism, that is fair. I don't necessarily think all of that is what people were criticizing over the last few weeks. I think one thing they do need to improve here, and they are testing right now, it is in the experimental phase, is timestamps of the community guidelines violations. What that means is if a video violates policy X, Y, or Z, they will include a timestamp in the notice you receive. So you can click on it and see, okay, I violated this policy at this time. They said in their Creator Insider video that it is not going to apply to every single policy violation. I don't know what policy violations it will apply to, and it is still currently in the testing phase, but that seems like that would resolve one of the big issues people have here, where they don't know what policy they violated, they don't know what content within their videos violated it. So it seems as though they are finally listening in that regard, but they still need to do a heck of a lot more to resolve the issue of having to go to a third-party off-site platform to get proper support. Crazy. Next, we have a comment from Soundspeeds, and he says, it's important to know that these YouTube policy changes are for payouts going forward. If you've made money off of past videos with swearing in them and those are now being limited in monetization, YouTube will not be deducting money from future earnings for past offending videos. You just won't be making money on them going forward. I wonder if YouTube made this change and will further modify it in the future, allowing you to touch a button marking your channel as for adults. Doing that will allow advertisers to choose if they want to allow their ads onto adult-focused channels. Who knows? Alan, thank you very much for the comment. I really do appreciate it. I can't believe anybody was thinking this, but I appreciate you clarifying it, so let's dive into this. If you get hit with this new policy change and your video has limited monetization or no monetization, YouTube is not going to retroactively take their money back. If you earned $100 on a video, and that video gets demonetized because you swore in the first 8 seconds, YouTube isn't going to say, okay, next month you have a negative $100 invoice. You have to give us back $100. That's not how it works, because that money comes from advertisements. In order to get the money from advertisements, those advertisements need to be shown to somebody. Somebody saw those ads, they paid YouTube for those ads, then YouTube split that money with you, the content creator, they paid it to you, you're good. Those ads were shown to somebody, you were compensated for advertisements being shown on your videos. This just means, going forward, you will not receive money for ads on that video because advertisers do not want their content, do not want their brand associated with your videos with swearing in the first 8 seconds. That's all it is. I understand it still sucks. Because your future revenue projections decreased. That's never fun. But they're not taking money back. And I guess some people were in fact thinking that. On the note of that, let's jump to the next comment from Red Pill Factory. He says, Yeah, this video is insulting, to be honest. The actual reason why people are angry is very reasonable. People played by YouTube's rules. Now they say the rules we told you to play by before, we changed our mind on that. We lied. We're taking the money away we gave you for work you already did for us by the rules we set out. That's effectively a more polite form of stealing. Analogy: telling a contractor you want your house to be made of solid gold. Contractor builds a gold house and you tell them, you know what? I changed my mind. I'm not paying for that anymore. Insert whatever reason, which doesn't matter here. Red Pill Factory, thank you very much for the comment. I really do appreciate it, but I do disagree with you quite heavily. The first thing I disagree with is we're taking the money away that we gave to you. As mentioned in the last comment, they are not taking money that they already paid you. That's not how this is working. If you get hit with this policy violation, they are just demonetizing or offering limited ads. That means going forward, you are going to earn little or no money. They are not saying you earned $100 in the past, this video is demonetized, you now have an invoice for $100. Pay us back. That's not how this is working. Ads were shown to people on your videos. You got paid for those ads. They can't say, hey, you offered this service, you provided a service, which is a platform for ads to be shown on, and we got value out of that. We're going to invoice you for that now. That's not how this is working. Going forward, you will earn little or no money if it gets hit. The next issue I have is just a little bit later in that same sentence. Work you already did for us. In completion, we're taking the money away we gave you for work you already did for us. Work you already did for us. I think that's a very skewed way of looking at YouTube. The reason I say that, YouTube did not ask us to make content for them. YouTube did not say we'll give you money to make content for us. Unless, of course, you are part of Rhett and Link, maybe you're part of Crash Course, where they have these grants that they give out. And if they do that, they say produce a series of content. And if that was the case, they said we'll give you $1 million to make 10 episodes. You as the content creator go out, buy a bunch of stuff, hire a bunch of staff, start producing the content, and then YouTube says, oh, you know what? Never mind. We're not going to give you that money. Then I would agree with you. I would agree with you 100%. That would be wrong. That's not what this is, though. YouTube is just saying, we no longer have advertisers that want to be on content that has swearing in the first 8 seconds. So if we don't have money coming in, there's no revenue to split with you. That's how we get AdSense money. It is split between YouTube and the content creator because they are the intermediary between our content and advertisers. So I think this idea of work you already did for us, it's not work that we did for YouTube, it's work that we made the decision to do for ourselves, for our audiences. And we just so happened to upload it to YouTube. YouTube did not ask us to. YouTube made no promises to give us money. YouTube just gave us the opportunity to upload to their platform, and they were even nice enough to share the ad revenue with us. That was very rare. When that rolled out, that was game-changing because nobody else was doing that. Up until recently, I don't think any other platforms were. YouTube was the only game in the entire industry where they said, we will sell ads, we will place ads, and we will give you a share of that revenue. So I think it is a skewed perspective to say YouTube had a platform, they allowed us to upload, they were sharing the revenue with us, and because the platform existed, it was them asking us to make content for them. And because we chose to make that content, we have a right to earn that money. We are entitled to revenue that is no longer coming in. I think that's a very skewed perspective. Unless you're one of those creators who did get one of those grants and was actually hired by YouTube to make content, the overwhelming majority of us made the decision to do what we're doing. We made the decision to spend time and money making videos, to spend our money buying the equipment, the cameras, the microphones, the interfaces, the software, to record stuff. We made the decision to spend our free time learning how to edit, researching, making outlines, improving. We also made the decision to upload to YouTube as opposed to exclusively uploading to YouTube's competitors like Audacity, Rumble, Vimeo. I know I did that because YouTube is just better, in my opinion. It seems like the best place to upload in terms of features, in terms of discoverability, in terms of revenue sharing. It seems to be the best place out there. Maybe it's no longer the best place for everybody, but we made that decision, and that allowed YouTube to continue to be the dominant force in online video hosting, online video distribution. We made that decision. And then we get to your analogy, and I disagree with it 100% because your analogy relies on the idea of YouTube existing being analogous to YouTube hiring you. I don't view it that way at all. I came up with an alternative analogy, and I wrote it down so I can get it right. So I am going to read it to you, which will be very weird with this camera in this angle. Here's a portrait shot. This is very unflattering, but here is my analogy to compete against your analogy. Hey, I'm a company. I have all these tools available, and I will even let you use them for free. Not only that, if somebody chooses to pay you for the work that you complete using those tools that I am giving you for free, I will facilitate that transaction and be so kind as to split the money with you. But here's the caveat: if no one wants to pay for the work that you have done with the tools we gave you for free, you get nothing. You get no money because no money came in. And again, I want to reiterate, I understand that it sucks seeing future revenue projections decrease. I get it better than most people because I saw my revenue projections tank, absolutely tank off of a cliff. I only want to see revenue projections skyrocket. I only want to see revenue stay consistent or grow. But just because we want something does not mean that we are owed it, does not mean that we are entitled to it. There is a very simple way to avoid this, to avoid YouTube changing ad policy, leading to you seeing declining revenue. Go out, negotiate with companies, and get ads that you read on your content. By going directly to the advertisers, you are bypassing all of YouTube's policies. So as long as your video doesn't get age restricted or deleted or hidden, you should be fine. You won't see that decrease in ad revenue because you are not beholden to YouTube's ever-changing policy. So if you want to avoid that, go out, negotiate those contracts with the advertisers to allow you to swear every second of every video, and you should be fine. But this is the issue with building your business on somebody else's platform. Like I mentioned, I saw my revenue projections tank. Amazon made the decision in 2020, we're going to cut those percentages in half. Just with a snap of a finger, my revenue was cut in half. Due to changes in the algorithm, due to changes in consumers' behavior, due to changes in interests, I have seen my YouTube revenue cut in half because I receive a lot less viewership. Am I on here complaining every single week that I am owed what I was earning before? No. I made the decision to build my businesses, to build my income streams on somebody else's platforms. If you want to avoid that, you really should be building your own income streams that you own. This is why I advocate so heavily for building your own website, having your own hub that you own online. Podcastage.com, BandrewSays.com, GeeksRising.com. I very rarely will give out youtube.com/podcastage. I don't want to do that. Because if I was ever banned from YouTube every single time that I mentioned youtube.com/podcastage, that is now a dead link. But if I mention podcastage.com, I can have my website there, or I can have that website, that URL, direct to wherever I want. But not only that, you should be building your own income streams if you want this to be a business. That is what we are seeing so much in the political commentary realm. Look at Alex Jones. He was banned, but he had been building up his own income streams for years, selling products. He has his own website, his own video platform now. Look at Tim Pool. He has his own subscription service now. He sells a bunch of merch. I don't know what he does anymore. I haven't watched that guy in years. You have Steven Crowder with the subscription model, Daily Wire with the subscription model. You see these companies realizing how precarious it is to build your business and rely on income streams that are reliant on somebody else's platform. So in order to mitigate that risk, they build their own income streams. They build their own platforms. So they are no longer at the whims of the ever-changing policies of big tech, to use that term. I know that's a contentious term. I hope there was something useful in all of that rambling. I am not siding with YouTube because I hate content creators who swear. That's not the case at all. I am just trying to convey a point. I am trying to make you understand that if our income relies on advertisements, when advertisers cease wanting to be on our content, our income decreases. Our income dries up. YouTube is just the messenger here. Maybe they will change their tune. Maybe they will go back to the advertisers and say, listen, pal, we are standing with our creators. Give us money to put on these type of swearing videos, and maybe they'll make it work. But as I see it, it is just advertisers saying we don't want to be on content that has a bunch of swearing. And I know some people were saying, well, that happens on TV. There's a big difference between YouTube and TV. That big difference is, what is it called? Standards and practices. Do you want a standards and practices department on YouTube where before anything goes live, it has to go through an entire jury and they have to give you notes and say, oh no, you can't say that. Advertisers won't like that, so we won't let you upload it. Because that is why television is allowed to have ads on stuff that is violent, because it goes through this entire approval process before it gets broadcast. YouTube is still the Wild West compared to television. Yes, currently you may get demonetized. Yes, currently you may have limited monetization, but you can still upload a heck of a lot of stuff that would never be allowed on television. So that is the big difference between television and YouTube, and why we see stuff that is advertised on television that is not advertised on YouTube, because they have to be a lot more careful on YouTube because you don't have that department that reviews everything before it gets broadcast. That is it. I am going to stop rambling. I don't know if any of that made sense. Let's go to my favorite part of the show, the Ask Bandrew segment. Welcome to the Ask Bandrew segment. If you have questions, go to askbandrew.com. There are instructions on how to send in audio, video, and text. I do prefer audio and video because then I don't have to read, and you get a break from me. And we get to hear how you sound on your equipment, which is always a blast. Okay, first submission comes from I'll Be Danged.
Well, hello, Bandrew Scott. My name is I'll Be Danged. I've been a fan of your channels for a while, and I've been listening to the podcast for a little while. The thing I really want to talk about is I'm using a Blue Ember microphone, and the questions I have is, you were saying in your review of this microphone that if you're going to use it on a podcast, you would run a high-pass filter. If you could, I use Audacity. Is there any way at all you could, walk me through that, please? Because I'm not very smart. Also, I started a podcast. This is not no plug for the podcast at all. Not even going to say the name of it. Not going to do it. But the only negatives, people say that everything sounds good. Okay, cool. Yeah. I have a problem with getting loud. That's the only downside I've heard, is people saying that it's not loud enough. And I do the thing where I normalize and I LUFS, negative 23 LUFS, negative 1 whatevers, and people say it's too low. So is there a way to get it? How do I get it louder? And have you tried the Adobe podcast thing? I can't use it. It makes me sound like a robot. And that's it. It's your pal. I'll be danged, and I'll be seeing you.
I'll be danged. Thank you very much for the voice submission. I really do appreciate it. Question 1 was, how do you add a high-pass filter in Audacity? Let me tell you how I found this. I went to google.com. I typed in high-pass filter plus Audacity, and I got the result that I was looking for. Why am I sharing this with you? Because that means you could have searched it on Google and gotten the answer a lot sooner, a month earlier. You click on Effect at the top of the screen, a drop-down comes up, then you click on High Pass Filter. You have 2 options. You have frequency, and then you have roll-off. I would go with 60 hertz for the frequency, and then the roll-off, I would do 12 dB per octave. I will link the Audacity manual in the episode notes in case you want to read up a little bit more, in case you don't want to search it yourself. The next question you have, people say your podcast is not loud enough, and you said you were leveling your show to negative 23 LUFS. I don't know where you're getting that standard for your podcast. That's a TV standard, if I am not mistaken. Curtis levels to that because if you are leveling to minus 23 LUFS, it is not going to affect any of the sound. It is not going to overboost it. It is not going to compress anything. It is just a very easy level, minus 23 LUFS. For podcasting, if you are exporting a stereo audio file, you should be leveling to around minus 16 LUFS. If you are exporting to a mono file, it should be minus 19 LUFS. So you are quite a ways away from the podcasting not standard, but a commonly accepted practice of minus 16 for stereo, minus 19 for mono. Another thing that you should be doing is compressing. When I was listening to your audio sample, I noticed there was a lot of variance between the loud parts and the quieter parts. Using a compressor will help with that. I don't have a video on compression for voiceover yet, but there are plenty of videos out there. Look up compressor, Audacity, voiceover on YouTube. I am sure there are 10,000 of them. That will decrease the difference between the loudest part and the quietest part. When you add the makeup gain, makes the quietest part a bit louder, and then when you level all of your audio to minus 16 or minus 19 LUFS, overall, the podcast will be very, very listenable and a pretty decent level. There you go. I'll be danged. Very much appreciate you. Next, we have an email, which I will need to zoom in on because it is very quiet. This comes from Andre, and they are essentially asking, what would you recommend for recording keyboard sound only? I would like to start streaming myself writing some stuff and would love the focus to be on the keyboard. I am looking for something that can be a set it and forget it or as close to that as possible. Are there any microphones and or setups that you can point me to? Andre, not going to read the rest of the email, but I recorded a quick sample. I am going to recommend something like I don't have it on my desk anymore, the SE Electronics SE7, which is a small diaphragm condenser. The reason I'm recommending a small diaphragm condenser is those are very fast, so they capture all kinds of transients. When you are clicking on a keyboard, it has very fast transients, very, very clicky, very, very fast. So you want something that will capture all of that. At least I imagine you would. I don't know what kind of sound you're trying to capture, so I would recommend a small diaphragm condenser. If you already have a dynamic, use that. Use that. It'll be fine. If you already have a ribbon, use that. It will be fine. You do not need to buy an expensive microphone just to record your keyboard. You do say you already have a Rodecaster Pro 2. I'm guessing you don't have just the Rodecaster Pro 2. I am assuming you also have another microphone, so why not just use that? But if you are looking for a microphone, if you just have money burning a hole in your pocket, here's a recording that I did with the SE7 to sample it for you. The microphone that I'm using for this is the SE Electronics SE7, and I am not using the provided firm mount because I am using a desktop boom arm, and if I was using the firm mount, every click of my keyboard would be transferred through the boom arm into the microphone, and it would ruin the recording. But I would set up the microphone maybe 10 to 12 inches above the keyboard, pointed directly at the center. This will give us a relatively even sound from wherever we're typing on the keyboard. The farther up you go, the more even it will sound, but the more room you're going to pick up. At about 12 inches, here is how it would sound when you start typing. And there you go. That's how I would set up a microphone to mic up a keyboard, and I sure am hoping you were talking about a typing keyboard as opposed to a musical keyboard, because if you were talking about the musical keyboard, I feel like an idiot. And finally, we have one last voice submission from an unnamed individual. Take it away, unnamed individual.
Hello, I want to ask you, is this better here or is this better here? You say 1 or 2, and I want to know how your day going. Say 1, 2, 1 or 2. So say it, please. Thank you. Bye, Bandrew.
Unnamed, thank you very much for the voice submission. I must say, it seemed as though you were demanding that I do a lot. I'm going to assume that was just a little bit of a miscommunication on my behalf. Question 1. Which do I prefer, sound 1 or sound 2? I prefer sound 1. Sound 1. I am saying 1. The reason I'm saying that, I thought sound 2 was a bit too low mid-forward. I am assuming it was just a different distance from the microphone, but sounded like a lot more proximity effect. I would prefer to listen to sound 1. The second question you have is, how is my day going? First off, thank you very much for asking. Nobody ever asks me that. I shouldn't say that. I think I have received that a number of times. I am very rarely asked that, so I appreciate you very much for asking. I am doing well. I had a lazy Sunday. I woke up, I slept in until 8 a.m. Can you believe it? I slept in until 8 a.m. And then I went for a 3-mile walk. I came home. I made a couple cups of coffee, I ate some breakfast, and watched About Effing Time. Good episode, by the way, gents. Well done. And then I came in here and started recording. And after this, I'm going to chillax, relax, max all cool, even though it's very late now. This isn't going to come out until late again. Heck, I need to get back into the process of recording during the week. Because recording the day of, it ends up taking so long, and then I put it out at an hour that nobody watches, and then the algorithm says, oh, this video obviously sucks, let's not show it to anybody. So, that's how my day's going. Feeling great. Yesterday I walked 7 miles, so I am a little bit sore. Trying to beat my brother, I'm competing with him. And I'm trying to beat my family. Not physically, I'm not trying to physically beat them, but you get the point. So after this, I'm going to go eat lunch, even though it'll be maybe more of a lunch dinner. Then I'll do a little bit of work on podcastage and then relax after that. It's going to be a nice Sunday. Then Monday night, I'll do a little bit more work on podcastage and get that ready to go out on Tuesday and be a rockin' and a rollin'. That's how my Sunday's going. How about yours? How's your Sunday going? Let me know. And that's all that I've got for you today. I said I wasn't going to edit a lot, but I did. Because, yikes, this was a rough one. Not having 2 cameras to hide the edits and not being able to look at my notes all the time is really difficult. It's really hard to have your notes over here when you want to look at the lens right there. Let me know what you thought of the audio. Let me know what you thought of the video. Is this acceptable? I thought it was super fun setting up this camera, and you'll understand why I set up this camera and started using it on Tuesday. You'll get it. And that is all that I have for you today. I hope you have an amazing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Next Sunday, I will talk at you. I love you. Yes, you. I love you. You are amazing. And guess what? I know some people hate when you say, guess what? I have another outro for you from SoundSpeed. So take it away, SoundSpeeds.
This next hour of the Epic live stream is sponsored by Podcastage. Podcastage.com. If you want consumer audio reviews, go to podcastage.com. I'm Dr. Emma Brown, standing here in the parking lot at Twin Pines Mall. It's Saturday morning, October 26, 1985, 1:18 a.m., and this is temporal experiment number 1. The way I see it, if you're going to build a time machine into a car, I want to do it with some style. There's that word again, heavy. Why are things so heavy in the future? Is the problem with the Earth's gravitational pull? Marty, he's in a 46 Ford. We're in a DeLorean. He'd cut through us like we were tinfoil. I'm sure that in 1985, plutonium's available at every local drugstore, but in 1955, it's a little hard to come by. Great Scott! Well, there are plenty worse places to be than the Old West. I could have ended up in the Dark Ages. They probably would have burnt me at the stake as a heretic or something. Marty, you're going to have to do something about those clothes. You walk around town dressed like that, you're liable to get shot. Well, then tell me, future boy, who's president of the United States in 1985? The justice system works swiftly in the future now that they've abolished all lawyers. Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads. It means that your future hasn't been written yet. No one's has. Your future is whatever you make it. So make it a good one.
This has been a Geeks Rising production. Your executive producer is Bandrew Scott. For more information, head over to www.geeksrising.com.